legit. You're probably wondering, how did a guy with heart problems get in this situation in the first place? Well, it all started early that morning.
Okay, on the whistle.
Hey, thank you. I was pretty excited about this race because it was the first race of the season. I have a good training plan, I've been executing it well, and the results have been showing. I get to match that against a bunch of youngins that have aged up into the 65s. Soon after we started, my buddy Bob came up to me and started telling me about the Palomares, about half the riders in this race. One guy who's now in the 70 plus is a multinational champion, the last time in the 70 plus this past year. We have another person that just aged up in the 65s who came in second in the season-long points category for the 60 pluses. We have another youngster that finished third in the Madeira stage race, another that won a late season road race last year, and we have a 70 plus district champion. This 11 rider pack is legit. Not only because of the unknown factor of these strong riders, but also because of the fact that I'll be breaking one of my AFib rules tomorrow by doing tomorrow's road race. I have a video linked below in the description talking about that. I had to be extra conservative, so I spent a lot of the early time in the back of the pack just riding wheels. For the most part, that pretty much worked until I realized that my buddy Bob had teammates. One was that second place points winner in that 60 plus category last year, and this guy. He's the one that won that late season road race last year in that younger age category. I think this was the only break attempt I actually covered. I was in a great position when I saw this start, and I figured I'd just ride his wheel, and if this turned out to be something, then all the better. However, as with all other break attempts, no one was letting anything with Clean Power Racing get away. This was pretty much the order of the race, until something happened to change that no one realized. At about the 20-mile mark, a Tarun rider snuck off the front, and we didn't pay much attention to it because it was a solo rider. We still have a long ways to go. Little did we realize that this was the guy that won the 70 plus district road race championship on the same type of move. 6 kilometers later, as we were approaching the midpoint turnaround, I was concentrating on staying connected to wheels. I did not realize that that solo breakaway had already started his descent. While the pack was becoming very concerned and was putting in some effort to bring him back, I was only putting occasional effort in. Reason being, there was still a strong 3-man team from Clean Power. Yes, I was doing a little game theory here. At least I wasn't until Clean Power lost one of their strongest riders to a flat. At that point, no more sitting at the back. At about the 35-mile mark of this 52-mile race, we were on a 13-mile leg that had a slight but ever-present cross headwind. It seemed like we weren't making up much distance at all. As we approached the last turnaround, we got to see just how far that solo breakaway was. We were all cooperating. Pretty much the entire time we were in paceline chase mode. And during most of that time I was thinking, boy, I hope I don't go into AFib because of the race I'm going to do tomorrow. With 2.5 kilometers to go, we caught him. Now I'm going to see what my training has done for me. In previous years, when I put out a lot of effort during the races, when it gets down to crunch time toward the end, I die out. My plan now is to ride the wheel toward the front. I don't want any gaps for me, because if gaps happen, it's going to put even greater stress on me. As evidence of that, look at the insert video in the upper right hand corner, and you'll see that the back is stretched out. You have the 5 of us, and then you have a gap to the rest. When someone decides to put an effort and go to the front and maybe try to jump from the front, I leave the strong wheel that I'm on, and I go onto that wheel. Always ride toward the front to avoid getting gapped. I live and die by that. Since I'm using my fancy schmancy carbon wheel, I don't have any power available to me. I do have my heart rate, but I have not been watching my heart rate because it's crunch time. I don't know what my max is nowadays, but the last couple years it was around 164. Right now it's about 147, so I am well within myself. At least that is until I just die out. Which, of course, I hope that doesn't happen. On the right, you'll see the 1K to go sign. The split that we had in our group just a little while back has seemed to come together, with a few people that have still off the back. My buddy Bob is right behind me. His teammate has just gone to the front and made a push to get over this last bump in order to get a gap to lead into the finish. I am not jumping to him. I don't have that energy to waste. I figured no one else is going to really let him go, so I'm still riding wheels. That being stated, the rider right in front of me, I'm concerned that he's going to be dying off a bit, so just in case, but he makes it over the top, so I'm now on Bob's wheel, my buddy Bob. You'll notice in the upper right hand corner, of those that remain, there is now a gap, and that includes the 70 plus national road race champion and the 70 plus district champion, who was on that solo break for all that time. It is now about half a mile to go. Somebody just died off and I am sitting fourth wheel. I still am within myself. My heart rate is 158, even though I didn't know what it was now. I was thinking it was closer to 160, but maybe it's a little higher. When you look up ahead, you can see that Bob's teammate Matt no longer has his gap and is starting to be passed by Bob and last year's winner of this race. And they're also starting to gap me. I still have legs left, so I move to pass him. Redline, though, has moved into the neighborhood and is starting to knock on my door. My heart rate is now 164. So that means maybe my max is a little higher than that? I have no idea what's going on behind me. I figure that Matt has died out and I'm trying to get on there, so now I am riding third wheel, or I'm just about to ride third wheel. I'm chasing third wheel. And there's the finish up there. My buddy Bob was not lying when he told me that Matt's a real good climber. And you can see that he's starting to pass me. I'd love to stand and be able to match him, but I can't. I'm figuring 164.5 is my maximum heart rate. I quickly look back, figured that I'm safe, and I dial back a bit because I'm pretty weak.